Thank you for joining us in person and virtually. We have a YouTube live going on. So my name is Mego. I use they, she pronouns. We are going to be doing a study abroad panel focusing on East Asia and what's like as TRIO students and our experiences. But we do have pizza, so please grab as much as you like. There is a lot of information about SES as well and our upcoming events on this table. So please check that out before you leave. We have scholarships with there as well. But let's get started. Is it on? It's on. Alright, so these are your three panelists today. So we're hoping it's going to be kind of like a conversation. We'll be introducing ourselves and answering some questions, and then we kind of want to speak with you and your questions, but we will let Ryan introduce himself first.
I remember what I said.
Yeah.
Hi guys, I'm Brian. I work with TRIO SES STEM. I'm one of the SSC's Student Success Coordinators. Thanks for joining us on this chilly day. So I was invited here as someone who not only works with TRIO students and tries to help them get study abroad opportunities, but also someone who's recently been able to participate in a couple of study abroad programs, as well as just studying abroad or just traveling abroad in general. So that's a little bit about me. I was recently able to go to Brazil and participate as a staff member as a part of the study abroad program for the Race, Culture, and History program, which was really cool. I got to see a lot of the behind the scenes travel process and how the students get involved and some of the anxieties involved with that. But beyond that, I was also able to travel to Japan this past summer. I went to Tokyo and Osaka. Very beautiful. It's always been a dream of mine to go to Japan in specific, but to Asia as well. And I was able to spend 10 days there. This was a leisure trip, but of course I was able, I still had some of the same, travel anxieties that are associated with studying abroad. So that's a little bit about my relevant experience as we try to get the technical difficulties resolved. Yeah, so that's a little bit about
And here's
me.
some pictures.
And yeah, here are some of the pictures. I can tell you a little bit about them. Okay, trying to think. All right, so this top left one is where me and my partner in the top left and the red, we were doing Mario Kart racing in the streets of Tokyo and Shibuya, which is really cool. I don't know if anyone has been to Tokyo or Japan, but that's a pretty common touristy thing to do. Pretty fun thing. This is, I won't go through all these, but the middle page is really fun. One of my favorite experiences there in Nara with the deer who kind of just freely walk. It was a really interesting experience, especially like having them come up to you and like nudge you for treats. That was really, really fun. A couple trips from my study abroad are also featured here too. This is some artwork from Brazil and Salvador that we went to. It was very artsy, very cultural heavy city. This is another trip from Salvador. It's right by the beach. It was so beautiful. I was able to spend this frigid part of the year last year in 90-degree weather. So as you can tell, I'm pretty reminiscent. And then the top one is Carnival Museum that we visited. Unfortunately, we went right before Carnival, but that's okay. But nonetheless, that's a little bit about me and my recent travels. Beyond that, like I said, I work with low-income first-gen students, students who have like documented SAC disabilities. So students who might not have traditional access, I think, and some of the things that we try to prioritize or have been prioritizing since I've worked at TRIO is just trying to get students better access and more resources. And I think one of the things that this panel was designed to do is try to give a little bit of an explanation to those resources, but also maybe help reduce some of the anxieties that someone might have. So, likewise, I'm a PhD student. My dissertation was in colonial Mexico. I did some travel for that. I wouldn't consider it traditional study abroad, but that's one thing maybe we can talk about a little bit. Is just kind of different avenues that you can do research beyond just undergrad studies as well. I've received the FLAS at Omega as well. Stuff you can receive as an undergraduate. We can go into that.
Can you tell us what the FLAS? Do you know what FLAS is?
FLAS is a foreign language and area studies. It's a scholarship given to you either during the academic year or the summer. It provides some funds to allow you to study abroad. It's connected to different types of languages or understudied languages. A lot of I would say East Asian languages are included in that.
All of our East Asian languages qualify for
Yes,
it.
exactly.
It is really great if you get the academic year, entire, mostly of your tuition is covered
Yes.
if you are in-state student, and then also get some stipends,
Yeah.
so yeah.
It's a very, very good, I would say, award. It's one that students don't know a lot about, so hopefully we can talk about it a little bit more later. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
So, next.
Yeah.
There.
Alright, hello everyone. My name is Mego. I use they, she pronouns. I currently work as the Education Outreach Coordinator for the Center for East Asian Studies here at KU, just down a floor.
Well, tell us a little bit about these East
Oh yeah! So we are a National Resource Center funded by the Department of Education's Title VI grant. Our mission is to disseminate knowledge about East Asian studies to a variety of audiences. So if someone wants to learn about East Asian studies, we want to be there and figure out how we can support. My job specifically works with K through 16 students and educators outside of campus, but I also do a lot of events here on campus as well. So if you went to our Lunar New Year, hopefully, yeah, everyone had a good time. That was amazing. But yeah, events like this as well, like lots of academics, conferences, we do scholarships, we do a lot of resources as well for students, teachers, community, so we just do a lot of fun stuff. But yeah, I graduated KU in 2023 with 2 degrees, a bachelor's in East Asian language and cultures, focused on Korean language, and then a bachelor's in journalism and mass communications, focused on Stratcom. And then a minor in dance. So it's a lot, but it all works out for kind of what I do now. And during my time at KU, I did study abroad at Sogang University. I took their 3-month intensive language program in the summer of 2019. Absolutely loved it. And then I went abroad again in the spring of 2021 at Korea University for a semester. It was during COVID, so I did miss out on the festivals, but it was still an amazing experience. So I do hope that I can talk a bit more about that. And we'll have like a little budgets as well at the end of the slideshow to kind of show you how affordable it can be. So I'll show you some pictures from my experience. So the reason I kind of got into East Asia was specifically this dance studio. So I was able to go again with actually one of my best friends from Unity Hip Hop. She was there on an internship, so I was like, let's go. And some other like pictures of like different places that you can go to. Your eyes do not deceive you, that is a North Korean flag. I actually called my mom while I was at the DMZ and like, Mom, look, it's North Korea. Okay, I love you. And like I hung up, so she was rightfully scared. It was funny, but not funny for her. And then just kind of like other pictures that I enjoyed. One of my favorite things was like, before I went abroad the first time, I learned about post-colonial like Korean history. And 2 weeks later, I was able to go to one of the cities where there was like a democratic uprising and learn about it. And so this is the picture from that, kind of like a memorial. And so it was absolutely incredible just to see that after like reading it in history books. So hopefully we can inspire y'all today to go experience it as well.
Hello everyone, I'm Tan and I'm a current senior studying exercise science. And this past summer I went on the study abroad program in Taiwan at National Senior STEM University. And it was actually the first time KU like partnered with this school and sent students on this program. So I thought this was a really special experience to be able to be part of one of the first groups going on this program. And as part of the program, I studied Chinese specifically. And it was a language intensive program for 2 months, June and July. And we had classes like 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. And we had cultural classes twice a week and also went on field trips around Taiwan. So overall, it was a really amazing experience. Okay. And these are some pictures during my study abroad. The first day we were in Taiwan, we went to Taipei 101, which is, it was one of the tallest buildings in the world up until recently. And that's the Fengshan Buddha Museum in Taiwan, and it was one of the field trips that we went on as with the host school. And these pictures on the outside here are a trip I went on with several of my classmates, 2 of them from Japan, one from LA, and one from the Philippines at the end of my program. overnight program, and we only spoke Chinese to each other. And I think it was really amazing. It just showed how much my Chinese improved over the span of just 2 months. And this, it was a really unique experience. We got to go to, and I believe it was a high school, but we taught English to these middle school age students, just really basic English, for about around 3 hours. And for that we got a $600 scholarship. And it was just like really fun and unique experience. And Taekwondo is one of my hobbies, so I just checked out one of the Taekwondo schools there, and it was really fun as well.
Awesome. So now we'll kind of go into some pre-prepared questions that we have, and then kind of answer those. And then after that, if you'll have questions for us as well, we kind of want to know how we can help and ease what study abroad looks like for you. Okay, keep going.
Okay. Yeah. So hi everyone, I'm Director for Center for East Asian Studies, and then today I'm happy to be a moderator to ask you questions to learn more about this amazing this study abroad program. So my first question is, how did you get interested in study abroad in East Asia?
Okay, I'll answer this one first. So, kind of how I got into East Asia originally was, like I said, dance. So, my parents couldn't afford dance classes growing up, so I was like, I'd watch everything on YouTube, like almost religiously. And then just this one, like, studio in Korea just caught my attention, and I'd get in trouble in math class, like, watching their videos when they would upload, so sorry, Mr. Manaba. And so I came to KU because it's the only place in Kansas that teaches Korean, and like I needed the in-state tuition. And also like TRIO was a really, really big help in like applying for KU and figuring all that out as well when I started. And it kind of was peer pressure, I think, when I started like looking into study abroad, 'cause I'm like, oh, I'm a high financial need, it's too expensive, or like I have to be really, really smart to study abroad, and like no, absolute myths, you do not. And so I kind of went with friends to the info center, and then she was like, no, you can do all of this and like get it fully funded, and I was like, okay. So I started applying for some scholarships. I met with Renee Frias, who is the who's back there as well, to answer some more in-depth questions. And she kind of laid out the process for me, and I was like, oh, I can do this. And so that's kind of how I got started. And then in the middle of, I think it was my post-colonial Korea class, my second semester freshman year, there was like tons of dings on people's phones. And that was like the FLAS announcement, and it's like, congratulations, you got the FLAS. So like, our professor had to stop class so she could be like, congratulations, because we were all freaking out. And I was like, I'm actually going, this is crazy. So I was crying on the phone to my mom, like, I'm going abroad. But that's kind of how I got interested. It's kind of like peer pressure and, you know, personal interest.
Wow, just to elaborate, I know for some people like me, studying foreign language is a lot. So could you tell us a little bit what it is like to study like Korean?
It is, I had never studied another language before I came to KU. Like I was like, I'm not interested in Spanish, no thank you. So I was like, well, I need it for my major. And I was like, I was interested in Korea a little bit, so like might as well study that here. And so 5 credit hour classes are kind of heavy with all the homework you got to do at the beginning, but the professors are absolutely incredible. I think that's what made it easier, was how much like they would support you. Like you really feel really bad making mistakes your first year, but they're like, no, we want you to do it because that's how you learn. It was just an amazing atmosphere with the professors, so I owe them a lot of like gratefulness and you know. Yeah.
Emotional. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
How about you guys?
I can answer this. I'll say it's probably from a different perspective because I did not do much study abroad when I was in my undergrad. So I'll probably tackle this more from like my own personal interest in East Asia. Because, like I said, when I did get to study abroad, it was more in like for my dissertation, which was less of a fun thing, I guess. But I guess what got me interested, like you said, personal interest first off, just very interested in like, I think cultural aspects of Japan is kind of what got me interested. I think in terms of affordability too, it's a very affordable area to travel to. I think when you think like abroad, traveling abroad in general, and especially if it's study abroad, you know, you think it's like just this insurmountable amount of money that you're going to be paying. But I think there's affordability to my time doing that really.
Actually, can you tell us a little bit about affordability? Because people, for people's mind, going to Mexico close enough, but going to Asia, so many hours in the airplane,
Yeah,
it
for
sounds so far and expensive, but
Yeah.
you say it's affordable.
Oh, I'd say so, and like definitely, and like I said, this is a personal trip, so it's definitely money out of my own pocket. So, but likewise, in terms of just any of the countries I've been to, Japan's probably one of the more affordable. I think there were some local economic conditions that created that, but likewise, I mean, it was the same when I was in Brazil, in Mexico. The only other place I would say is like pretty unaffordable was Europe when we were there. So in terms of I think affordability, it's one of the easier ones to justify. In terms of the cultural immersion that you get once you're there, that's like an indescribable experience almost. So, but beyond that, yeah, that's kind of what drew me there. I thought 10 days would be too long, but it was far too short by the end of the time I was there. So.
Sure, like thanks to US,
Yeah.
strong US dollar.
Yeah,
Also,
yeah, right.
like in Japan and other parts of East Asia, usually they don't have tipping systems. Like great food without
Yeah.
paying a
The
tip. The
transit
service is
system.
amazing.
The transit system was really wonderful, and
Right.
it was like a flat cost, and the housing, the places we stayed were pretty affordable, and it was very nice.
Awesome.
And I know with the study abroad, those things are kind of like preordained too. So
Great,
Yeah.
great. How about you, Tom?
So for me, before I came to KU, I always wanted to study abroad, but I didn't know what I wanted to study or where. But my freshman year at KU, I took a Chinese class for my major requirement, and I really enjoyed it. I loved it, but I didn't have room to take it afterwards in my schedule because of my major, and I also changed the major several times, so that didn't help at all. But after that, I saw a flyer about the program in Taiwan, the Chinese language program. I saw a flyer, and so I looked into it, and I thought it would be a really great experience to continue studying Chinese. And it's during the summer, so it wouldn't interfere with my graduation plan. And since it's a new program, or I looked into it and I saw it was also funded. There was extra funding from the school, so I knew it would help out. That's like a pro in the financial aspect. So for me, the more I think about something, the more I might push it off or not do it just because I overthink things. But I just decided to go for it and apply. So
Great. Actually, this is a special time limited. So we have this special offer for 3 years. This is gonna be the last year to think about studying the Chinese in Taiwan. The tuition, you don't really have to pay much out of your pocket, right?
Oh, for National Sun yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, their tuition is very affordable. So they're on quarters. So 3 months, and it's just like $1,500. So that would be, I think that's still going to be the price regardless. But we have this special funding, the Huayu Best, which provides. It's in Taiwan dollars, so the amount kind of varies all the time in US dollars, but right now it's about $750 a month, US dollars a month. So for this summer, it's like $1,500 right now, and then for the 3 months, it'd be, it'd be what, 23 or so hundred. So yeah, very affordable. I would say for Asia, I mean, I've worked with Asia for a long time. Japan is the cheapest I have seen it in 26 years. I have seen, I mean, there was a time that it was even it used to be $1 US was below 100 yen, and now it purchases, you have such purchasing power because the prices haven't really increased that much in Japan, but the exchange rate is so favorable. So and for even airfare too, Japan or Asia, sometimes the airfare I work with European countries as well, and sometimes the European ones are the same as the Asia ones, you know, so, they're not that expensive compared to others, so, yeah.
Yeah, now is really the time.
Speaking of finances, Tom had like a really great like budget, like insane.
Yes.
It brought back about $7,000 from all of her scholarships to like bring back afterwards.
Right.
So we can actually
Right,
like,
not spending, but
go through
earning.
it. Yeah, like got money to bring back. So can you want to
Right.
explain it a bit?
So before and during my program, I had like, or I used a spreadsheet just to keep track of my finances.
Right.
So over here, like expenses, and this is like the hard amount that I paid to KU to enroll and pay. It was $24.55, and then the airfare, healthcare, insurance was like the initial expenses, and then also set aside some emergency money just in case. So all of that added to like around 9K for the estimated total expenses. And then for the funds, these were like the scholarships and the grants that I received. I'll talk about them and more specifically after, but yeah, that added up to around 14K. And then I took like the funds and the expenses and subtracted it to get this, and then divided it among the 3 months I would be in Taiwan, just to get a ballpark of how much I could spend. So it ended up being around a budget of like 2K per month, but everything in Taiwan was pretty cheap, so I didn't end up spending very much. It was like 600 the first month, and like only about a K for the second month, and then I was only in Taiwan for like half of August, so I didn't spend very much then either. And then adding that all up, I spent a total of 600, around 6,600. Once I added all the spending up, and then all of these expenses minus the emergency money because I didn't get to that, and that all added up to only 6,600. So the funds I got, and then the amount of money I used, and I had a total of around 8K left over.
Oh my
So-
god. That's nice.
Yeah, and so usually I take out loans for the school year,
Yes.
but I didn't have to this semester because of like all the money left over. So I don't know, I wanted to show you guys this just to show how affordable it can be. Like you can get everything covered and you can get paid for stuff like that.
Can you tell us a little bit of the process? Looks great, but we assume, well, you have to write a tons of application, like after application, it might be a lot. How did you do that?
It was definitely pretty overwhelming. But I would say the most lengthy scholarship was the Gilman scholarship. It was 3 essays that I had to write. One was like a statement of purpose, like why do you want to go on this program? Why did you choose this specific program? Like how would it help you academically, professionally? Yeah, and then the second one was holding mutual understanding. How would you express your identity as an American abroad? How would you put an effort to immerse yourself in your host country, in the culture of your host country? And then the third essay was like a follow-on service project proposal, like what you would do to help spread awareness of studying abroad. Yeah, so those were the 3 essays that had to be for the Gilman, and there was also like an additional essay for 3,000 for if you're studying a critically needed language. Chinese was one of them, but I didn't get to the essay, so I didn't apply for that. But so from the Gilman, you could technically get like 8K. For the SAGE scholarship, that was through KU Study Abroad. And for the summer, it's mainly like a financial needs scholarship, and I got 2K for that. And then the Honors Opportunity Award, if you're in the KU Honors program, you can apply. It was a pretty short application, and they really try to help fund your experiences. So I would definitely apply for that if you're in the Honors program. Yeah, and these are the program-specific scholarships. They want you best for teaching English, and then the Air Force supplement from the school. So it was definitely a lot, but for the scholarships, they typically open pretty early, so you could get a head start like over winter break. And for the KU study abroad application, like everything is on the portal, everything that you need. It's pretty organized. And Renee is like really helpful.
Set up a meeting with Renee. She's great.
So it's definitely a lot, but it's doable, and I would do it all over again if I had to.
Awesome. And then Tom said kindly you could share your successful proposal or overview so that you don't have to start from scratch, at least how the successful people did in the past. So that's great.
I also have Korea University because we see Taiwan a little bit. Oh, do you want to skip the next slide? Speaking of finances, so this is the Capture of the Spring program for Korea University coming up this upcoming spring. When I went in 2021, it was a little bit less expensive, but I kind of wanted to do a bit similar thing and like list up scholarships that could possibly go for this program and like how much you can get. And so for sure the first two lines, those are like non-negotiables. You have to kind of pay those. But everything else below just kind of depends what you do while you're there, as well as like the flight changes every now and then. But there is a specific scholarship for Korea University, which is $6,500, which can basically, almost cover all of your tuition. The Freeman Asia is for any program in East Asia. And for my kind of tip for that, I received that to go to both the programs that I went on, so along and Korea University, I was fully funded both times. And so for Freeman Asia, I got that scholarship, I think, for my first program. I recommend, like, when you're writing your essays, if you've never been to East Asia before, kind of slide that in there. So that's, like, my tip for that one. And then the Gilman one, I received that for Korea University specifically. And you do have to be a Pell Grant recipient to get this scholarship. And so my recommendation is kind of, if you are comfortable, lean into kind of like one of your identities. And so I leaned into being a first generation student and how like that identity will change, or like how it'll feel different maybe abroad, and bring that aspect to Korea, because like, education is very important in there. So like maybe they haven't really heard that like, oh, I'm first generation, my family to go to college. And then like how I'm gonna bring my experience back to like first gen students here. So like if you are comfortable, lean into an identity, and put that kind of in your essay. But yeah, kind of like just looking generally at all those scholarships, those all equaled up to more than what this program costs, but that isn't even all the scholarships and like programs you can get. The KU Study Abroad does do like passport awards, and so there is specific requirements for those, but it could like pay get your passport, so you wouldn't have to pay the $165 for it. Also, if you receive a Pell Grant, any KU financial aid or scholarship that you get already come to KU, those can go toward your study abroad experience. And so my Pell Grant went to both of my experiences abroad. And then of course department scholarships, so different academic departments will have their own scholarships. And then of course language scholarships, so the FLAS, the Foreign Language and Area Studies Fellowship. This practically paid for my summer program, so it's you get a stipend as well as up to a certain amount for your tuition paid this summer as well. But you can also apply for a travel award, so I got that as well to go abroad. And it's, I would say for the FLAS, you only need a statement of purpose. And so I really recommend that statement of purpose to talk about how learning this language affects your academics and your career. And if you can add a little bit of personal aspects in there as well. So I put in there that like, I would love, if I got the scholarship, it would mean everything because I could, fulfill that 6-year-long life goal of wanting to go to 1 million dance studio. I got it and I was able to go to that studio. You also need 2 recommendation letters, and we really recommend that one of those be from your language professor. And then the other one, of course, from someone else who really knows you well. So I did my Korean language professor, I did my dance teacher. I feel like my dance teacher was like, she talks about 1 million every day in class, please just give it to her so she can go and stop talking about it. But no, that wasn't like it, but those are my 2. Of course, there are other documents you need, like PDFs of transcripts, and your advising report. We don't want any originals, don't pay for those, just send us copies of them. And of course, like some more general like financial information and acceptance, because for the FLAS it is a fellowship, so you do have requirements of like volunteering or attending a few of our events, but not that big of a deal because attending our events can also go toward your global awareness program certificate, which also looks really, really nice on your resume. But I would say that I think the question I get about the FLAS a lot is like, is it competitive? And I would say not really, because I think the amount that we give for the FLAS, people think that so many people apply for it because it's such a big amount, but no, I don't think a lot of students do. So as long as you have, you know, a good essay and you have good recommendation letters, I feel like you have a good chance of getting a scholarship, and you can apply for it more than once.
I was just saying they're understudied languages for a reason. It's because students don't typically study them, so they're not very competitive, especially if you have like a niche language that you're learning. So
The only hiccup with that is that as an undergraduate, you have to be studying the second level or above. As a graduate, you can study any level to get it, but yeah, second level or above. So that's kind of like the one little requirement.
So it's a federal funding, so like if you have a financial need or the students to prioritize, yeah, so that's,
Another way that studying abroad at East Asia is very affordable.
you might be able to save some
yeah,
money.
I would also say with the FLAS, I think a lot of people are discouraged because they think you typically need to be like majoring in a language or doing something with that language maybe long term. But that's not necessarily the case. Obviously, in the application, I wouldn't indicate that you know this is just a short term thing for you. But regardless, it's not something you have to be like deeply committed to. But as long as you're indicating that the language is important to your academic performance, it's likely to get you.
I agree with that. I think when I applied for it, I was just taking the language as a requirement, and I put in the essay like, you know, maybe if I get the scholarship, maybe if I go abroad, like I might like minor or major in it.
For
So
sure.
like, give me the money, we'll see.
Yeah, I only took the language courses during the time I had the class. So, yeah.
Yeah, so now you know what FLAS is, and then there's an information session usually in the fall semester before the deadline. So just eyes out for information session, get more information and hands-on instructions.
Just pop in my office. I've got candy, blankets. Also, Renee knows as well.
So basically follow Mago on social media.
I brought some FLAS, the general FLAS flyers, not the ones that have the
great.
info meetings, because that was from the fall, but
Sure.
the general about
Great.
it. So,
Great,
Yeah.
great.
and I guess I wanted to say for the, you know, the budgets for study abroad, like our office, each coordinator estimates those fees. We don't want to underestimate them because students may be eligible for like loans or scholarships, and so, you know, don't look at it and be like, oh my gosh, you know, this is really high, because airfare can be a lot less. But on the other hand, airfare has been sometimes unpredictable, I would say since the pandemic sometimes, like, and so I always kind of estimate higher because it can sometimes go up. But same thing for like housing, like I will usually estimate the most expensive option for housing in case a student wants a single room or something like that. I guess for the Sun Yat Sen, it was the best bonus ever in that we thought that the group was gonna have to stay at a hotel. So the hotel rates were really high, but then ended up being an extra bonus that they kept the dormitory open for the summer students, and it was incredibly cheap. So that is a big reason why you got so much, you know, savings. But like I said, you can be frugal with your money. Like, I don't wanna, you know, I don't estimate, low on the meals or anything like that, you know. So if students do get a lot of scholarships, then you know, it's a bonus because you can get, you know, up to, if it's U.S. funding, then you have to, you know, get from just KU, then it's just the amount that's listed there. But the outside, the foreign one, they don't have to, you know the figures. So, but to say, don't be overwhelmed by the numbers, you know. So
Great. So, okay, do you think finance somehow you could manage by now? Okay, the next big hurdle would be how to explain to your family or the parents. So, what was your family's reaction when you said you are interested in going to abroad?
Tom, do you want to start off?
I honestly didn't discuss it with my parents at all.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah. When I told them, I was already like set on committing to the program. But I didn't hear back from a lot of my scholarships yet at that point. Or I hadn't heard yet. So my parents were pretty against me going just because they weren't sure, like they didn't really know anything about the whole process, like the application process, studying abroad process, or like the financial aspect of it. So they were pretty against it. But I was willing to take out loans if I had to, because I really wanted to go on the program. So I just told them like I would like support myself. It wouldn't have to like support me in any way. I would take out loans if I had to. And I would do my best with the scholarship applications. So yeah, they didn't really accept it until like I got like the scholarships and like I told them like it's like fully funded. So after that they were pretty supportive.
My parents, you know, my mom has only been 2 places in the world. It's Oklahoma and Kansas. And she was very nervous when I was first traveling abroad. I think the first time I went abroad was to Europe, so she wasn't as, I guess, anxious about it. But when I was using my flat funding to go to Mexico, I know she was very anxious on my behalf, which obviously increased my anxiety a little bit as well. My dad's from Mexico. I don't think he was as nervous for me. He's not as anxious, probably just in general, but as my mom. But yeah, they were both, I think, a little hesitant. I was staying 30 days there, so that was also a part of it. Just managing myself for a whole month. But I think once you kind of insist that this is happening, the reality starts to kick in, and then after your first couple of trips, after your first couple of days, that anxiety really also, like, not only like just having that anxiety blasted into your ear like 24/7 helps once you're actually there. My mom obviously texted me pretty frequently, but once she saw I was pretty comfortable, I think it really lessened quite a bit. Like I said, my dad's not that anxious, so I don't think he was that worried on my behalf. But it's also a little different for me. I'm like a guy traveling abroad is a little less anxious, I think, than some other people with different identities and different genders, obviously, as well. So I'm aware of that, I think, and that also helps me, I think, in those experiences. That helps my parents as well too. So it's a little different in that sense, but nonetheless, I still had a very anxious parent who caused me to be very anxious. I'm an anxious person in general too, so that kind of just compounded it. So. But after the first couple trips, it was pretty relaxing. Those experiences are crucial, I think, to a person. So I think once my mom kind of realized that, it was a little easier for her to accept.
For my parents, I think it was a little bit back and forth depending on what topic about study abroad. So like academic-wise, they were all for it. They're like, this is going to be great for academics. Like you're gonna meet people, do well, so they were supportive on that end. But I think when I was like first starting to figure out, like I would just mention like, oh, I went to the study abroad office today, and like I could do all this, and so they're very supportive in like what can help my academics. And I think I was similar to like Ton in the sense that like if I needed to take out loans, like I will, and like I had other siblings, and I was the first out of my siblings to like go to college, and so like they didn't really know like all that process and like finances. They're just like, if this is gonna help your academics, like we'll support you. I think it was more the fact like safety. They're like, it's right next to North Korea, you're gonna die, like why go there? So in that sense, like I had some friends who are from Korea that were studying abroad here, so like I would ask them and have them like call my parents, like it's gonna be fine, I'll be there. And so I think they felt a lot more less of anxiety. Like they had a lot of anxiety, but like a little bit less when I said that, like, oh, I have a friend here who will be back home this summer, and like if anything happens, like I'm very close with them, and like their family will be there. Like we took care of them here, like they're gonna take care of me over there. But then also it's all like there's a lot of like still prejudice of like what is it like right next to North Korea. But once I like kind of took them to like the Korean store in like Kansas City, and I was all like, can you tell my parents what it's like? And they're like, she's safe, she's gonna have a great time, amazing experience. And after that, it was just kind of like, what if something happens, like emergency? So like I told them that like, here's what KU told me, and like also like I have those friends there. And yeah, I think overall it's just like safety and like communication, 'cause it's a 14-hour time zone difference. So I was like, hey mom, I'll call you at 7 a.m. when I wake up, if I wake up, and then before I go to bed. So as long as I was just texting them pictures, and when I was there, they were just so proud and like excited, happy there. I'm gonna tear up, but like they're very supportive parents. I just think they want safety is the most important thing.
True. So thank you for sharing. I'm sure you're convincing your parents, but at the same time, you might have some challenges before you go, maybe physically, mentally, psychologically, but also maybe during your study abroad program, you might have some anxiety, fears, or concerns. So can you share in general what kind of challenges you face before and then during your stay?
I guess I could start. For me, I didn't really have any Chinese language experience prior to going on the program. I took 1 semester of Chinese my freshman year, and I went on the program the summer after my junior year. So I basically like forgot everything. And so I was really scared of like the language barrier and not being able to like do like daily activities like I would over here. But I would say like for Taiwan, it's very accessible. A lot of people speak English. There's English signs and menus everywhere, and I did use Google Translate a lot, but it's definitely doable. And people there are very like welcoming and friendly to foreigners. I guess another concern was safety. My parents were also kind of concerned about safety, but my family is from Vietnam, so it's like Asia, not too different. Yeah, but KU does have like a 24/7 hotline, I believe, that students can call.
Yeah, so we have 2 emergency phones that are available 24/7. All the coordinators were part of, like, we get briefings and can log in reports from the Overseas Advisory Council, which is kind of a separate unit of the State Department. Yeah, I mean, violent crimes and stuff like that, safety, even East Asia is far safer than here.
Oh my-
I mean, so safe. I mean, sometimes parents will say, I'm so scared. I'm like, they're safer there than here, honestly. I mean, a lot of the East Asian countries are a level 1 for advisory level, which is the safest in the world. There are actually not that many countries at level 1. Even the European countries are a level 2 because there are some risks of, attacks and stuff like that, and crime too. So East Asia, nothing to worry about, like as far as safety. So and Southeast Asia, in most part too, some countries need to be more careful, but there are a lot of safe countries and options in Southeast Asia too. So yeah, far safer. So
Yes, just carrying a knife itself is a crime in Japan. You can't carry it. And then the kids just go to school by themselves, taking a train. So yeah, that level of safety. Of course, you want to avoid certain areas, but yes, in general.
Well, like I said, I feel like I'm answering these questions from a different perspective sometimes, but I think when I went to East Asia most recently, was my most recent trip back in May, and I had very little concerns going based off of just knowing some of these different things about the safety concerns, the purchasing power of the U.S. what have you. So I've had very few concerns, and then when I got there, I didn't have any concerns. Besides, the language barrier is always a different thing, but like you'll find in even a lot of countries, most places are very English friendly. And if not, there's a lot of English-friendly apps that translate for you. So the metro system I know is a little difficult to get down, but like I said, my anxiety before and after that trip were not very high. They didn't fluctuate, I guess, that much. My first couple, trips abroad, I've been like to South America and Mexico. Those were a little different concerns. I can't remember the safety level advisory for both of those, but I think they were the same, or 2 or 3. And my mom was very concerned about that specifically, and that I think, like I said, it just increases my own anxiety, and I think that was the big thing. The financial aspects always kind of compound, I think. In Mexico, I had a little bit of an identity crisis too, because I'm half Mexican, and so I just kind of had this like, it's my own thing probably. But beyond that, yeah, I think East Asia specifically is a very friendly place to travel to, and especially for American tourists, it's very accommodating, and the people there are pretty awesome. So yeah. But that's also the consequences of me being, I think, and not whatever, but just the seasoned traveler at that point too. So if this had been my first trip, I think the same anxieties I had for, say, Mexico City or Salvador, Brazil, I would have had for this trip. So even if I heard this like proliferation of people telling me it's fine, I think I would still have that. Just because it is scary being in a place where you don't know the predominant language feels kind of scary at first, but once you realize it's not all big and bad.
For me, I think the thing I struggled with the most was just anxiety, like in different processes and aspects. So like before going abroad, like college is still like a huge thing. Like I had no guidance coming into KU, so like there was still like tons of things I was learning. So like how to study abroad, like I don't know what to do. So like the process of like applying and like getting all the information, like I was just like, it's a lot. Like it just, since there's so much to do, like I don't know where to start. But definitely like setting up meetings with Renee, and then just like taking that time to be like, this is how you fill it out. Being able to email with her and be like, what should I do? It was pretty easy after that, I think, as well as like there were lots of other KU students going on the program that I was going on. So like we would get together and like figure out how those processes work. And then kind of when I was abroad, for me, like I just have anxiety like trying new things unless I'm like with not with somebody else. So like that's the thing you're supposed to do while you're abroad. So like it took a little bit to like get over that, like after I got accustomed to the place. So like definitely download those like map apps specifically for the country. And I think because pop culture is so big now with Korea, like there was lots and lots of like TikToks on like what you should do if you're a foreigner in this country, or like you're this certain identity. And I kind of also want to touch on the safety. Like when I got to Korea, like I left my like wallet, my bag, and like all of my like homework like out on a table in a cafe. Ran to the store next to me to like grab something and come back, and everything was fine. Like I felt so safe there, and like even though like the social, the society might not be as up to date like with different identities here in the US, like I still felt safe enough to like, I first came out when I was there, before like I came out here like in the US, so like just feeling safe like was like a really big thing there. And I came out as queer in Korea, so just felt safe, and I was around so many people who just enjoyed the fact that you were learning their language and there with them. So
That's so cool. That's so true. It reminded me, my husband, who is American, wasn't quite sure how to use ATM machine in Japan, like a whole like huge line behind, and he was all like messed up, and so he left that ATM machine with grabbing like a $500 equivalent Japanese yen, and just walked by, but of course he's taller, so somebody ran after him like 300 meters to say, hey, you left the money, give it to him. And the other time he really appreciated service, so left a tip on the table, and then somebody came over after him, hey sir, you left this money, and then he said that was for your tip, but then no, so anyways, yes, yeah, that kind of level of oftentimes trust. So overall, like we all have fear about something new, and especially something we don't really know. But usually afterwards, we feel we learned a lot and overcame a lot, and like feel self-growth. So I'd like to ask you to tell us, what did you get out of this experience? What did I not get out of the experience?
Bad things I did not get out of this experience. So, I think just the self-confidence I gained, like, there's so many things that I want to do, and like, knowing that like I did them, and like I have support back at KU to like help me like, you know, like do the dreams that I want to do. Like, I never thought like dance might be something possible for me, but then having all these professors support you, and then like being able to do that abroad, but also like all the relationships that I got from my experience abroad. Not just people in Korea, but like people all around the world. Like, Sogong is very famous for their language classes, so like we had a famous person in the class, which was really, really cool. And so, like, personally I got a lot out of it. Of course, academics. The first 2 years of Korean are both like 5 credit hours each semester, so I was able to come back and take 3 credit hours, not another 5 credit hours for the semester. So I was able to focus on my other majors. And I think like, you know, career-wise, I got a pretty nice job. You know, I got to put study abroad on my resume, and I think that was like a very big reason of like why I have this position now. So like every aspect, and you know, being able to like have that, you know, just fulfillment in each aspect of my life. Like now I feel like I'm able to like give back to others, and like now I'm like my little brothers are graduating high school. I'm like, you're going abroad whether you like it or not, and if I have to pay for it, I'm gonna pay for it. I'm like even signing them up for their passports. So just it's an absolutely like it feels like it sounds cheesy or to say it all the time, but like it is a life-changing experience, like no matter what.
For me, probably similar to Mego, like it definitely improved my confidence, just stepping out of my comfort zone through this experience. After coming back to KU, like I've been more involved. Like through TRIO, I had a government info session through TRIO. On this panel right now, I'm working with CAS, and I also continue taking Chinese after coming back. I'm taking a calligraphy class this semester, so it's really nice.
Lion dance, sharing
Oh,
Chinese
yeah.
culture.
Yeah, so it's definitely been great to like be able to continue being involved with the Chinese culture through KU, and I'm also planning to intern abroad in Vietnam this summer, and I don't think I never thought I would do that, and I think this experience in Taiwan really influenced my decision to apply to intern abroad this summer again.
And did you get the Freeman Asia internship scholarship? Which is like 5,000.
Yeah, it was 6,000.
It's 6,000. Yes. Yeah, it can go up, and we have to apply for that funding, but I know this year they gave it, but sometimes we want to give extra too, because we're spending it out, because then we'll apply again next year. So that we had this long-going relationship with the Freeman Asia Foundation at KU for actually many years, even before this internship, but we've had this grant for probably about 10 years. Then it was kind of not given out much during the pandemic, but yeah, it is generally usually every student receives the scholarship. But we have a range on it, so usually it's 2,500 to 5,000. So if you have higher need, then you get a higher award. And we actually work with providers in Southeast Asia, in Vietnam, there's some options in Thailand, and then we work with a provider that has an internship in Singapore, and then in East Asia, it's in Tokyo, Seoul, Taipei, new this summer, and then Shanghai will also be open this summer, since the advisory level is back to 2 for mainland China. So yeah, Seoul, Tokyo, Taipei, I've been seeing one option, but maybe that's it. So, but yeah, it's a great opportunity too.
Great, that's
Tons of saving is growing.
And I brought the flyers for that too. So
Great.
I think KU really is KU really does a great job of giving the students
For sure.
scholarship opportunities or the study abroad opportunities.
Yeah, I've talked about a couple different places, but I'll just kind of talk generally about traveling out of the country. But I'd say it's really hard to put into words like what traveling abroad does for a person until you actually are able to like do it. For me, I think college campuses are like a very like one of the last kind of like melting pots in terms of like bringing people in from small towns and introducing them to like uncomfortable situations and new types of people, new types of cultures and stuff. And I think study abroad is kind of like an extension of that comfortability for certain people and for other students as well. And I think like there's just a level of immersion and exposure to different types of languages, cultures, peoples that you're never going to get from just reading about or hearing about. And that brings you, whether you know it, it brings you greater, I think, nuance in your own worldviews and nuance in your own understandings of your immediate space and the world itself. So I know that's very theoretical and everything I'm saying, but it's a very, all I have to say, it's an amazing experience, and especially if you're getting to travel in East Asia, that was one of the, it was a very breathtaking experience. A lot of the places, that's all I'll say. And I think it was built upon all my other travels and whatnot that kind of helped me get comfortable. But yeah, the experience of going abroad is very hard to. It makes you want. I guess what I got out of it was wanting to go more out of the States. So yeah.
Awesome. Beautifully said. So it's your time to ask any questions to the panelists over there. Yes.
I had a general question for everyone. So, what is, I guess, one of the most notable or most significant culture shocks you guys have faced abroad?
This is in East Asia, but when I was in Mexico, one of the most interesting cultural shocks was watching someone pay off a police officer as if it was like it was a cultural norm, you know. So it wasn't like an odd thing to see. So that was interesting. I'll say that was definitely a cultural shock, I think, to me.
For me, toilets. Bathroom. That was a culture shock. They still had like the Western type bathrooms, but in Korea, like you don't throw away, you don't flush your tissues. Like you have to put them in a bin. And also like there's some places where it's like too small. They have like two separate bathrooms, so they'll have one room with two stalls. So like doesn't matter. Like I'm all for all gender bathrooms and everything, but like it was a bit of a shocking to like have just like you go in and then like a dude's in another stall. So I had to like run out and like catch my breath for a second, but like you were totally safe still, like it's just the norm. I think that was a shock for me. I'm just like, this is, I can't flush my stinks, I'm so sorry.
Can I say something on that? There was in Osaka, there was a toilet that like when you flush, you washed your hands on the top of it. I don't know if you've ever been exposed to it. That was a very interesting thing.
Yeah,
to
I'll put
get
all
used
of
to.
these like the wash,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
all sorts
yeah.
of like a
So
cleaning
it was,
stuff.
anyways.
And then people use just like the noise making machine, so nobody hear your business.
Yeah, true.
I would say Taiwan's pretty similar to Korea. There's places where we put toilet paper in the bins instead.
Yeah.
And some places didn't have toilet paper, so we kind of had to carry toilet paper around. Yeah, and also sometimes there wasn't soap in the restrooms,
Yeah.
so a lot of people just like hand wash with water. Yeah. Other than that, I would say maybe the food.
Oh, yeah.
There's some pretty interesting foods in Taiwan. One is like the duck head. I didn't try it, but and then there's also like siki tofu.
Yeah.
It's pretty notorious.
I have all of my friends try samachi, which is like live cut up octopus. So like it's alive but you like cut up so it's still moving. And so like it's funny, like it doesn't taste like anything, so it's just funny to like see people like, oh, and then try it. Yeah, I agree with the foods. There's a lot of like more fish, but like fresh fish. So like you've never had sushi until you've had sushi in Japan. Like here in Kansas, so yeah, food definitely. Also spicy level. I am white as it gets. So before KU, I thought ketchup was spicy. So I had to really get on my game with all the kimchi and like the gochujang. Yeah. Any other questions? General? Questions, broad?
I guess I should add that if you're interested in this summer, there's still a little time. I mean, we extended let me think. We have extended the applications for the Sun Yat-sen program that Tan did. We have a short 2.5-week program that goes to Japan. Japan Then and Now is led by Naito Sensei, who teaches first-year Japanese. Actually, we have a lot of applicants, but we extended it for just a little bit longer too, till March 2nd. So there's still opportunity. That one is open to every major, any student. You don't have to know Japanese, and it is with Naito Sensei. So you, it's not learning Japanese, but just experiencing Japan. That's a great option. And I brought brochures, so that's open till March 2nd. Our internships are closed. Just that's more, you need to start that process a lot earlier, but it'd be an opportunity for next year. And then our semester programs, most of them would be due March 15th, so there's plenty of time if you want to consider fall or academic year. Our spring deadline is October 1st, so you have plenty of time for spring too. So, and if you don't know where the study abroad office is, it is just next door. It's in Lippincott, and we have a info center, and that you can come anytime 9 to 5, and you can also make an appointment with the coordinator, or can make an appointment with me if you're interested in any program other than the internships. And so, sorry, let me preface that. Any program in East Asia and Southeast Asia other than the internships, and then there are a few select programs that we use through a provider called ISEP, like a program in Thailand, and that would be also another coordinator. But in general, for any of your interests, you can always start with me, and then I can give you the different options and stuff. So, but again, and my name is Renee Frias. So, yeah.
I think to like add on to a little bit of like Renee is saying, like recommendations, like you do not have to know an East Asian language to go abroad to East Asia. Like just how like KU is really known for their engineering, our med school, like tons of universities abroad like are known for specific things. Like I know a lot of business students will go to Korea University. A lot of art history students like tend to go to Japan. So like, well, yeah, architecture as well. So like you don't have to, but we really recommend to like look into studying East Asian languages because of those scholarships. And just knowing a language benefits you so much. I think there's this one quote from like a professor that like stuck with me throughout my time is like, is like there are so many people around the world that know several languages, but English is not one of them. So you need to at least know another language to communicate with them. And that really happened while I was abroad a few times. So, but yeah, really look into East Asian languages. I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's so hard. Like East Asian languages, like they're so crazily different. But I'm like, so is Russian. Russian is different. But, you know, just find the language that's like best for what you want to go into. So like, I was really interested in like being dance in East Asia. So I was like, that's what's gonna work for me. So whatever works with the career that you want to do, go into that language and add it on to what you're already studying because the benefits are immense.
I'll just say like languages like is also one of the things I think barriers, just like students just like feeling like the language is like just overwhelming. Like any country I've been to, like the native speakers are very, very encouraging of even rudimentary or basic like beginners in the language. There's no one who discourages it or even, you know, makes fun of you. I think a lot of people might have that feeling even if they know just a couple words, but people in Brazil, Japan, even just basic phrases, I know I was just getting encouraged, I suppose, which is like kind of the opposite of what I guess I expected.
For study abroad, I should mention, so for Korea University, they have a 6-week program that is offered every summer, and they don't offer these options usually during the school year, but in the summer they offer all these general education courses that are low level, that could be like psychology, political science, and they have business, economics, so it's really a great option for students who are actually not ELAC majors, East Asian Language and Culture majors, for that summer program. So you get that experience, fairly significant experience time-wise, 6 weeks. It's from late June to early August, and you get to live on campus. You can take Korean if you want, but you don't have to. And this year, for the first time, we decided to put it as a regular program offering on our website. So it is available, and what that means is our office pays for you pay KU, University of Kansas, and then we will pay Korea University, but it allows students to be able to wait till their financial aid comes in June. And so that's an option, and I actually just extended that deadline to like a little after spring break, I think. So even for this summer, it's an option. And they have a wide variety of different classes and professors from all over the world. I mean, there's professors from England that teach there. It's really a great option for any major to consider. So even engineering, like I have engineering students who go on that program as well, because they have math and some science classes too.
Thinking about Korea, definitely spring semester and summer, because you're gonna see a lot of famous people just randomly. I think my record is seeing 4 famous people in 4 days.
So
That's recommended.
specifically that time period, that fall?
Yeah, when I went in the summer, just for funsies, I saw 4 famous people in 4 days, but then the first time I went abroad, I think, I saw what was it, NC 127, just because the people were screaming at the airport, and I was like, what is going on? So they were coming out, so like Icon, and then like Ailey, and like some like people busking. But then also like spring semesters of like just any university in Korea, they'll have like big festivals, which I'm kind of butthurt because I was on the dance team in 2021, but didn't have the festival. But then the next year, Psy came, like Gangnam Style Psy, and so the dancers for him got to dance with like the dance team that I was on. So I was sitting here in the US like, it could have been me. But yeah, definitely recommend go as long as you can because it's a big flight ticket. So go as long as you can, but definitely spring and summer if you want to go to Korea.
I wonder, do you guys, could we ask you to briefly introduce your name and what you study and the potential interests of the study abroad, any like general interest or specific interest, so that we might be able to address your interests or questions? Is that okay?
Yeah. I'm Jackson Vaughn. I'm a sophomore and I'm a pre-nursing major.
Oh, great.
I grew up learning Vietnamese and English, and then I eventually learned Spanish and French. So actually, Mexico and South American countries really interested me, but also a lot of East Asian languages I've been looking at.
Right.
It's just come to a point where my hobby isn't at my forefront at the moment, but it's still definitely a big interest for me, and I do want to pursue it. So having this information is useful, but also my family's a little bit in the same position as me, like my younger siblings, my older siblings. So it's like good information to know to compare to what they've been through, what you guys have been through, and to be able to like pass on to them. If I don't go, but I really hope
Recommend
I
it.
do. Fingers crossed.
Awesome. Thank you for coming today. How about you?
My name's Logan Penny. I'm an environmental studies major.
Oh.
So I was really hoping I could find a program where I could really dive into that, both like inside and outside of the classroom. So I can somewhere where I have the freedom to like go out and like explore nature in the area, but also that has a program where we can learn more about it.
Oh my god, yeah. I don't know about the program itself, but the culture-wise, like in Japan, everything is just no waste, and then everything is recycled. It's such a refined system, plastic, all these things. So, and then the city itself is super clean. So just the attitude itself is super interesting.
I would probably say, we don't have any specific faculty-led program. We do have one that I work with for environmental studies in New Zealand. That's a winter break program, but you could consider an internship. I don't know if they would necessarily be able to give you an environmental studies one, but it may be possible, and the internships are in English, so, in these Asian countries, so that makes it a little bit more versatile, and so it depends on the country. Some countries, you know, can do certain fields better than others, but that might be one area that you might, like internship during the summer through the KU Study Abroad office. As far as English offerings at international universities, I can't think of that they offer environmental studies. The only one that might possibly, but I have not looked in such a long time, is University of Hong Kong is an exchange partner of ours, and all of their curriculum is in English, and it's open, like the advisory level is back down, and I'd have to look. They might have environmental studies there, and at least in the past, you know, Hong Kong was pretty kind of forward-thinking, trying to really help their environment as much as they could, especially because they are near mainland China too. So, so they might actually have something for a semester. So you could come by this study abroad office and you could look at it and apply it. So.
I'm Trinette. I'm a journalism and film major. I've taken French for like forever, so I thought I wanted to go there. But honestly, at this point, the opportunity to study abroad at all would be great. So honestly, I'm open to anything.
Journalism can go anywhere, so
Yeah.
you've got options.
Hi, I'm Ishan. I'm a graduate student majoring in business analytics. So like I'm here because I was really interested in the Chimba program that the Surya offers. So like business school student, it's really popular there. But like we had like a session there in CapFed earlier when you talked about different
last week.
programs. So like I got to know about some new ones in like the East Asia side. So like that also really interested me. And I actually speak like Hindi and English both. So like I also want to add certain more languages like Spanish or like Mandarin to my resume. So like, and also I really like learning different things and getting to explore different cultures. So it's always a new experience, I would say. So that's why I want to add like a new language to my resume and learn something new. So one of my friends actually told me like there was some event that actually told about like scholarship that are available if I learn a new language. So like that will be really helpful if I can like learn a language with like very minimum costs. So like that's why I'm here to like learn more about the program so that I can learn a new language and also get to explore a new culture.
Hong Kong is known for business.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it is, business analytics, it just depends on the university. Some of them will have it, some won't. Korea University actually does the summer program that I mentioned earlier. They are offering one business analytics course this summer, and you can even take beginning level Korean there. The only thing is, and because you could take those 2 classes, but it's only 1 semester. So when you come back, you'd have to wait. Because we don't offer the Korean classes each semester here at KU, but if you just wanted to learn Korean, you could take that along with business analytics. Or the Taiwan program that Tan was, she went on, you can take beginning level Chinese. It is, there's the FLAS, but that is only for, I should mention that's only if you're taking second year and above. So, but the Taiwan Ministry of Education is giving scholarships to incentivize people to learn Chinese, and so the summer scholarship would be $1,500 approximately in US dollars. So, so that, and it's a pretty affordable program. So, and that is open to that scholarship. U.S. citizens and international students can receive that. So not all the funding depends. For some of these scholarships you have to be a U.S. citizen, but the YU Best Taiwan one is open, and we extended it to March 2nd, and so that's also on our website too, that anybody could apply for. So yeah.
Hi, I'm Madison Orange. I'm a TRIO staff member, so
Oh,
I'm just here for that.
thank you for the support. Well, yeah.
Thank you everyone for coming. Please grab some more pizza.
Yes.
And we'll be here until about 2:30. So if you want to ask us questions one-on-one, 'cause maybe the group is kind of scary, go for that. But yeah, enjoy some pizza and thank you so much for coming. Definitely stop by Lippincott Hall to go to the Info Center or set up a meeting with Renee to talk more about programs in East Asia, New Zealand, Australia, except for internships. But yeah, studying abroad is absolutely amazing. So thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, very well.